The following program may contain language. Discretion is advised.
Can you tell me a little something? Can you make it extraordinary? Can anybody out there tell me what it means? Why we only talk about the medium machine? Bring me everything that you got, and tell me everything that I need. Can't believe that we got through this. Now I guess we're looking back on it.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Looking Back on It. This is the first time we're doing this. Take one.
First time, for sure.
I definitely didn't mess up something on the back end right off the bat. But I'm joined today by my good friend, Eric Trunk. How long have we known each other, man?
I think we're going in our 27th year now. 1996, I think, was.
Yeah.
And we met first grade, so.
Yeah. A hell of a long time ago. But what have you been up to, man? What's going on?
Yeah, just, you know me, man. I'm just working like a dog, like always, you know. But I'm really excited to record this podcast today because I'm a huge fan of this album, as you know.
Absolutely. I did want to ask you one thing. We actually have been like hanging out a lot on Xbox, playing some Back for Blood and stuff like that. You're a PS man, aren't you?
No,
you're just a floating console guy because normally they make you choose a side in the console war.
well, I mean, I have the new Xbox,
Yeah.
right? And then, I mean, I usually get the Xbox maybe a year or two after it comes out,
Okay.
and I'll get the PlayStation like years after it comes out. I'll get it to get exclusives like I really like the Spider-Man game or whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't really want to pay the price, especially what PS5s are still running at now. I was like,
I
wanna
will
do
say I'm like a little jealous that you have a PS because I love Until Dawn. And you
Oh,
can't. I can
yeah.
only play it on PC, and I don't have a PC right now. I only have my Mac. But I did used to have it when I had my gaming laptop. But I miss that game so much. And the Quarry is great. Don't get me wrong, and I still play that on Series
but
X.
Until Dawn's better.
Yeah, Until Dawn it's the original.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
never
I
gonna-
agree. Well, I feel like both those games built off of Heavy Rain,
Yeah, that's exactly
right?
what they are. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I think I like Heavy Rain, or I mean, The Quarry and Until Dawn more because it's more of a horror. It's more my style.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they built off that. Well, if you want to, you can always borrow my PS4. I'm not playing it right now because I've been playing the Series X, and
Yeah.
I have Until Dawn too, so you
Yeah,
can play that too.
What other games you've been playing? I know we play Back for Blood together a lot. I love that game, but
I've been playing. I really liked. If you ever did you ever play DMC on Xbox 360?
No.
It was like a newer Devil May Cry.
okay.
Okay, and it's called a DMC. And I never played a lot of the early Devil May Cries, but I got that one handed to me, and I played it, and I was like, oh fuck, this is pretty cool. And what really got me with it, with the action in it, and it's very fast paced, is the soundtrack.
Yeah.
A band called Compa Christ does the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, I know
And
that
they're fucking cool. I actually got to see them live in 2011. They opened for Rammstein in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first time I think even heard of them. So I think a year or two later they did the Compa Christ Compa Christ did the album for Devil May Cry DMC, and that was fucking cool. So I got the 5th game that just came out or a year or so ago on the Series X, and I've been playing that, and that's fucking really cool.
Yeah.
Really enjoying it. Been playing Halo, but I'm stuck at this one part that I can't beat, and that's never happened to me in Halo, even on the normal level. I have to get my cousin to try to come on and play it just so he can beat it.
Help!
Because I really want to play it more, but I get frustrated with a game if I'm stuck at one point too long, and then I'll stop playing it. Because
Yeah.
I feel like I've done nothing if I keep trying and I can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not a gamer nerd that can fucking, oh, that was easy. No, it wasn't, because I don't play games all fucking day.
I sometimes feel like that too, unless it's a skateboarding game. And then in which case I am breezing through that.
Well, we always loved those games.
yeah.
We were playing those when they first came out. I
Yeah,
remember.
Tony Hawk is still the GOAT.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
But we're here today to talk about what you would say is your favorite Asking Alexandria album.
Oh, by far.
Okay.
By far.
Well, we're gonna have some discourse on it, because I don't know. I'm more partial to the album before this, Reckless and Relentless, but
It's a good album.
yeah,
It's definitely better than their first album.
yeah.
Their first album was very, I would say, juvenile. Like,
Well, they were kids, right?
they
18
were
or
right.
16
I think they're around the same age as we are now, but no, understandably so. But I just feel like, you know me, man, and the majority of my favorite albums by bands are the albums that I feel are the most balanced. And what I mean by balance is in production, in the sound, like, and also I don't like usually the heaviest album by a metal band.
Yeah.
But I also don't like the lightest album by a metal band.
No.
I like that where they got that heavy and light mix. There's not all screaming, it's screaming and singing, and it has that flow where it's mainstream, but it's not ridiculously mainstream.
Yeah.
So like my favorite like Rammstein album would be Mutter, even though it was very mainstream, it has that heaviness, but it's not like that old techno style.
Yeah.
But it has little elements of that, but it has a little bit more production and value and like a little bit more to it. It almost feels like cinematic a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
That's one thing I really like about this album is the use of the samples and the keys. I feel like that really, you don't hear it like out in the foreground, but it really fills the music in with what's going on with the bass and the drums and the two guitars as well.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that one. So let me just give you, everybody listening, a brief history on what album we're doing. We're actually doing From Death to Destiny by Asking Alexandria. It's the third studio album from British Metalcore band, or I guess metalcore / rock band.
Yeah, that's more fitting now.
Yeah. After this album, anyways. Asking Alexandria. It was released on Sumerian Records in August of 2013. So, I
10-year
guess
anniversary.
10-year anniversary,
Yeah.
this year, coming up very soon. In the heart of like a new era of metalcore that was mainly focused more on breakdowns, in my opinion. Like it was definitely a different time, that like 2012 sound, like around there, that like Motionless in White is pretty much based their entire career off of, honestly.
Well, and then you had bands like Chelsea Grin and like
Yeah.
Immure. They were all like Breakdown City, man.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
that's all they did.
Yeah. But this album is produced by my second favorite producer in the metalcore game. My first favorite is Will Putney. I don't know if you know him.
I've heard the name and I have also heard Joey Sturgis, but I'm not as much of a follower of like I'm a music fan and I know quite a bit about it, but I don't follow producers as much as you do. So if you could give me a little bit of
So Joey Sturgis, he was the guy who like essentially created that crabcore like metalcore sound. So he did, I think, almost all the Asking Alexandria albums. There might be a couple of them, but he did Attack's first album.
Okay.
He did like when he was like young, he was like only 20 or something like that. He was just a young kid, and like he kind of pioneered that sound, like the they call it the Andy Sneap method, but it's like the chugging guitars that don't like feel harsh on your ears and stuff like that. And
yeah, it's like palm muted somewhat, and it's
and he was like kind of the driving force with a lot of those bands, because they were just young kids that they just wanted to play metal and they didn't really know what to do, so he helped them like kind of put it together. And like that's why I say like he's my second favorite, because he's like really just like a metalcore guy, whereas like Will Putney is my favorite. We talked about it before. He did like Every Time I Die, Low Teens. He did like the Amity Affliction, all their albums, Knocked Loose.
Yeah.
Like he's more of like and he's a guitar player himself. He plays in a band called Fit for an Autopsy.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. He's the lead guitar player.
Oh,
in Fit
okay,
for an
cool.
Autopsy. So he's like a cooler. I find he's like a cooler version of Joey Sturgis, but Joey Sturgis is now into more of the plug-in game and producing game. Like right now, when you hear us talking, they won't be able to hear it in post, but the compressor that I'm using to boost our voice so we can hear each other is Joey Sturgis tones.
Oh, okay.
So he's more of like, and he has some of the best plugins. I use a lot of his stuff. Like, it's really cool. But back to the album. Sorry, I got all nerded out.
You know what though? Like, what I like about these little things that we talk about though too is it's little things for, the people who are listening that, they wouldn't hear otherwise.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so I like these little kind of like, almost like subplots to,
Yeah.
to the, podcast episode itself. So
Some may say off the rails. I say it's good content.
I think it is. I veer off all the time. So it's all good.
But this album had like some awesome collaborations in the form of Howard Jones from Killswitch Engage.
Yeah. He's near the end of the album there, and I think that was his first
Collab
since he departed Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
And I think he says, "If you think you've seen the last of me," like he's even saying,
He's
like
foreshadowing.
because I
in his
think that was the
lyrics.
first thing he recorded in a while. Because I know with Howard, he has diabetes, and it was really out of whack at that time. And
Yeah,
he
it was like
very,
ravaging him on tour. And
he was
stuff,
very
right?
overweight, and even I got to meet him with his band that he has now, Light the Torch.
Yeah.
But it was when they were Devil You Know, when he first put them together.
Okay.
And he's also got big crowd anxieties.
Yeah.
Like their guitar player brought me on the bus, and I got to meet him. And
Who, Adam?
no, not from Killswitch.
Light the Torch,
From Light the Torch,
Yeah.
right? Francesco. He used to play in this very heavy metal band. I can't remember the name, but my buddy really liked them. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, and he doesn't like crowds and stuff like that, but he was really nice. And yeah, it's cool that it has that collaboration on there too.
Yeah. But this album was like the signifying album really that led to the breakup of the original lineup of Asking Alexandria. And I mean, their lead vocalist Danny Warsnop, he left 2 years after this album came out, something like that.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half, I think. And
Yeah.
I will tell you this: I think they put publicly that he left, but I think they booted him.
Yeah, I know. Well, he was having a lot of issues with stuff like drinking and drugs and stuff like that. And they were young kids at the
Yes,
time, right?
yes.
Like 2013, if they're our age, what were they, 23?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think Danny's actually the same age as us. I think he's born in 90.
Okay, so that makes sense, yeah.
No, understandably so. Like I met them on that tour as well at the machine shop, and they're all very nice guys. And the thing with Danny is like, I think he was they were getting big, they were bringing traction. You're getting into the money. You're a young guy, right? And I think that time away that he had, whether he left or was kind of asked to leave at the time, I think it did a lot well for him, because I have not heard anything
No.
since since he's come back. He did have another band in between called We Are Harlot.
Okay.
They were a little more rocky, and I think he brought that style over with Asking Alexandria. And I think, considering he blew out his vocals maybe twice, I know he did for once for sure, and needed the surgery young. So you want to go long term, you can't really put out music like they were doing on their first two albums, right?
Well, and you see it right away. Like it's a maturity with this album where his singing style changed completely. His screaming style maybe stayed the same, maybe
But
a
there's
little bit different.
more singing too.
But there's more singing. But like his singing is like, compared to Reckless and Relentless, compared to that one, there's like about like 3 years in between, I think, or 2 years.
2, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was
2.
2011.
Yeah. So you hear the singing style compared to that, it's like a complete 180.
Yes,
right?
it is. It is.
Yeah. So you can tell something's obviously going on with his voice, and it's changing, and he's maturing, and the band is obviously maturing with him. But I think he kind of got, he got sucked into the party lifestyle, right? Unfortunately.
Well, and I'd heard that they had written pretty much all the album, and it took forever for them to get him to put lyrics to it, and he was kind of slacking in that department. And this is just what I heard. Okay, but I will tell you this: like, I did see them 4 times around that, like touring for that.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went up to Rochester to see them, I was so hyped for it because that Machine Shop show was epic.
Yeah.
And he came out and he's slurring all his words and he's mumbling. I actually left before before they were even done.
Really?
Because I was so pissed that it's like, dude, this is what you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
And I came a long way. Like, for people in Rochester, maybe they don't give a shit. But like, I drove over the border. It was like 3.5 hours, and and then I saw him at Mayhem Fest in the summer. That summer in Michigan again, and he had like rolled his ankle, I think, on the show before,
Okay.
and he could barely walk.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I rolled my ankle," and then he falls on the show that I'm watching.
Yeah.
And then I think he messed up the other foot because he didn't move much after that, right? And I said to my buddy, he's gonna be out of this band in a little while.
Yeah.
Because I could see the decline happening, right? But I'm not trying to be negative on Danny.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that he got back to the band because he definitely makes the band better. And that album without him,
Yeah.
it really showed his absence.
Well, see, here's the thing with the album without him. Well, I'm just gonna go off on a little tangent here. The Black was the album after he had left, where they had brought back in Dennis Shapovalov. Well, not back in. They had brought in
Dennis Stoff, I think it was.
Dennis Stoff. Sorry, yeah.
Stoff, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Dennis Stoff. Sorry, well, I don't know why I thought Shapovalov. Yeah, Dennis Stoff. But Dennis Stoff was just some kid who was covering their songs on YouTube. That's all he was. And they saw the videos and they're like, you know what? He kind of sounds like old Asking Alexandria. And he did that style well, but it wasn't furthering the band in any way.
No, because
it was
they had
taking
already
a step back.
because they had already evolved from that with From Death to Destiny. Because to me, From Death to Destiny, when I talk to a lot of old fans, like the Stand Up and Scream fans, they were pissed off with that album.
What, with the Black?
With this one.
I
From Death to
wasn't-
Destiny. But
yeah.
the thing is, this is the
I
thing.
am that fan though, and
But
I'm not pissed off with this.
if you want to broaden your listening audience, you're gonna have to do something like that because it made them a little more mainstream, a little less niche, right? And you can even say that, like, I know they were massive albums, but think about Linkin Park, their first two albums, and then they kind of broke away from the rap metal, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't like because I was an original Linkin Park fan,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But what did it do for them globally? What did
it
it
made
do
them
for
way
like,
huger,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. So, and like you said, doing the Black kind of set them back, and so they kind of had to go kind of back up the roller coaster again, right?
I don't know. When he came back in, they changed their style again after the Black, after they gave
Well, yeah,
Soft
they
the
went
boot,
lighter,
and
yeah.
and it definitely changed, and I think it still solidified them. Maybe they were already solidified as like metalcore gods, anyways, to begin with, but like
Well, I think the quality of that album. What was that album called again? It was 2017. That album. It's got Into the Fire and Rise.
It looks like a what you call it? Looks like an I Prevail album.
Yeah, the cover with
the
the
cover.
the red symbol and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that album was good. I feel like it was like the problem I feel with that album and From Death to Destiny is like I felt like it's only downhill from here kind of thing for me. Like it's hard to get because I think this was probably my favorite album of 2013. To be honest. So that's pretty good, right? To have to be the best one of a year, right? So and I listen to a lot of music, so
But I mean, this album had like great commercial success, landing itself a debut spot at number 5 in the Billboard Top 200.
Yeah.
The highest debut spot the band ever had in the U.S.
Yeah.
Even
probably
to this
since.
day. Yeah, even to this day, I still think that's the highest. And it also broke Sumerian Records' first week sales record with 41,000 units sold. So obviously, it was an amazing album. It's honestly by far one of the best Asking Alexandria albums for the reasons that Eric said. It's due to the shift in the band's albums or the band's style, right?
Well, for me, it's song structure.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to music, I want it to be predictable, but not at the same time. Like it's like, where should this song go next? And then if they do it, I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I felt that's what it did. The songs flowed.
Yeah.
And where I felt like Reckless and Relentless had a bit of flow, but it didn't have the flow this had. And Stand Up Scream had none. Right. But
Stand Up and Scream's just like it's a breakdown fest.
yeah. So, but Reckless and
still like
Relentless
it,
had a few songs that had flow, but again, it had a lot of riffs that just kind of got put together.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't have the bridges to link them. You know what I mean?
But like I said before, that probably came with their maturity too, right? Like now they're in their
Learning.
20s. They're learning.
Yeah.
They've been doing it now for a couple years, and they've been on Warped Tour and doing stuff like that for a while now.
And maybe they're a little bit more open to advice, listening to the producers more of, okay, we should do this. Oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? They're professionals, or most of them are, right? So like you should listen to them and see what you can take from them, right? Because if it makes you guys money. They're producing. It's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
Then you all make money.
Yeah. But what do you say we get into like the whole, I guess, main chunk, the meat and potatoes of this show?
Yep.
All right, let's go into Riff City.
Riff City.
Riff Riff's the best. Riff Riff's the best. Riff Riff's the best. Riff Riff's the best.
So for Riff City this week, I was having a little bit of trouble trying to choose something on this album that stuck out as just like a really crazy riff. And to be honest, this is an album I don't really listen to as much from them.
Okay.
So like when you suggested it when we were first talking about, because we've been talking about doing this show since I started this show.
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
back
yeah,
on it,
that's
right?
right,
So
yeah.
it was one album that clicked in my head. I'm like, for sure, Eric will want to talk about this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, I started listening to it again when we had first talked about it, and this opening guitar riff, it's like a layered guitar riff to White Line Fever, is just like, it's so classic metal. Just, harmonizing, shredding guitars, and the open chords just ringing out over top. Very much like an A7X vibe,
Yep.
for sure. I could that's what it kind of feels like to me.
Somewhat, yeah.
And I'm definitely a sucker for like that, like super epic sounding intros. Like, you know what I mean? Like where it's like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna melt my face. but really, it's just what I think makes it stick out to me is it's just such a contrast to the song before, because the song before it's Creature, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, hold on, what are we doing here? Now we're going old school metal here. Let's go, right? And it just stands out as like such a great like middle of the album track. Just break it up, maybe reset the palette, like try something new. And I think this riff specifically is a perfect way to start that song.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And there really isn't another song on that album that really does that riff. So that it in terms of that aspect, it definitely stands out very much. So I can see why you would pick that riff. Definitely.
Yeah. What do you got? What's your favorite riff on this album?
Well, it kind of goes with the song, and I just feel like the emotion from the song is very it's very present.
Okay.
It's kind of so one of my favorite tracks on the album is Moving On.
Okay.
And it's one of the lightest tracks on the album, but at the same time I felt like it had like that. It has that emotion, and I love that bluesy opening to it, right? It just and then you know the you know what I'm saying, right? Like it just grabs you right away. It's got it's got the heavy guitar behind it, right? And then it kind of goes into a quiet verse, and then builds up to your chorus, then it builds up to the bridge. The structure of the song is very good, and actually I actually heard it on a couple radio stations here in Canada, on like mainstream radio stations.
Oh, really?
Because it was a song that was light enough to go there. There's no screaming or anything, right? And of course, it's like I picked the most mainstream song, but at the same time, it's like it's a hit for a reason, right? Because it's just the lyrics too. It just fit really well, and everything about it. Just that song, I don't change a track generally ever on this album, and that's how it's a good album in my opinion. If you're not changing tracks, that's a pretty solid album.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's one I might do like back play again. It's done, hit it again, and you know what I mean. And there's not a lot of songs that I do that with on this album, although I do listen to them through, but that's definitely one of them. Yeah. And so that riff, that pulled me in right away, and then just keeps going.
Fair enough. I mean, since you're talking about it, I mean, you seem very passionate about this album. Why don't we talk about just, I guess, like a top 3 list? Like if you had to pick 3 songs from this album sort of thing.
Okay. You do yours first. Or you start with one.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You know what we'll do? We'll trade off, and we'll do it that way. Yeah. So for me, by far, number 1 with a bullet is "The Death of Me."
Yeah, that's a great one.
That song is by far the best song on the album, in my opinion. It has like a perfect blend of screaming and clean vocals. It also is the first song on this album to exemplify that signature Asking Alexandria guitar tone. So I try to explain it as essentially like they're mixing him just playing bass notes, like Ben Bruce playing bass notes over top of the chords, but like maybe mixing that a little bit higher. I kind of like it. It's like it's just a little bit different, you know what I mean? Instead of just bar chords like every other band, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, and like it's hard. It's really hard to explain that. You'd have to hear it sort of to understand it. But that's always
Well,
something.
I think fans of the fans of the album will know what you mean.
Yeah, well, and like not to mention like they did it a lot on Reckless and Relentless, so like that's why like I always like it. Like like a song like Another Bottle Down's like my favorite, and that has it like just littered throughout the entire song, right? So. It's I don't know, and it's like the guitars are mixed in like a strange way. Like it's very much a Joey Sturgis tone thing where he does like he'll scoop the mids and just boost the shit out of the high and the low. So it just makes it like punch more and like I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's the way I mix my guitars now when I do my stuff, right?
Yeah.
So. But this song is just so amazingly well written and produced, and it flows so well. It's a no-brainer that most people think of this song when they think of this album.
Yeah, no question. And you're not talking about the rock mix. You're talking about the original.
No,
yeah,
I'm
because
talking
I
about
don't
the
really
original,
like
yeah.
the rock mix. I think
I have some stuff to say about that.
It's a
later.
little too light for me.
Yeah.
Considering I had heard this version first, and that version just like hooks you in. And my favorite part is usually that bridge part, like, and this is my top 3 tracks on here as well.
Yeah.
So I'll just veer off with that one as well.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is when near the end when he's going, "I'm blind with wrath."
Yeah, that part's awesome.
And like,
And I
it's
can't shake this
yeah,
feeling.
and just going back into it, like it just that's and what was cool is the track before it actually blends in.
Yeah.
To that, it's Killing You is the track before it. It blends into it, right?
Oh, do you know what I was going to next?
Oh no, but I noticed that because I don't skip the tracks really on this album, right?
Well, they're all supposed to sort of blend together. They don't have any stops in between. You know, like some of them, like when they put together an album, they'll put that 2-second delay
Yeah.
in between the songs. They don't do that on this album. It's just right into it. So I like that. It's almost like I guess it's almost like a.
It's like having one song almost.
Yeah, like a concept albums will do that a lot,
Yeah,
right? And stuff
yeah.
like. Although this is not really a concept album, it's just an album. But
But it was a nice little touch.
yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll take. I'll do it again because you so Death of Me because awesome song. But my second pick is Poison.
Okay, yeah, Poison's good.
And I do love this song because it just starts off like so hard. The guitar line just straight up just riding one note, and it can get repetitive sometimes when you do something like that, but it works perfectly for this track. In my opinion, it's just like the use of that solid open D or open C, I guess in this case, because they tune down like crazy, and they have that dissonant chord mixed in. So like that's another one. Asking Alexandria uses it, but like every fucking metalcore band and every hardcore band uses it too. And it's just like instead of playing like your D bar chord or whatever, where it's like D A D, you just add the E flat on top of it. And it just adds like that little bit of like dissonance, and like they use it a lot for breakdowns, but they use it a lot in this song.
Yeah. They don't use traditional chords, right? Like
No.
and it gives it a more unique sound that way too.
Yeah. And this, not to mention the screaming vocals in this song, like they show off like all of Danny's range, like in terms of like they have, you know, a good mix
The
of
start
like,
in the intro.
well, yeah, like you have like there's some points in the song where he's doing a mid fry and a low scream all in one line, right? Like, you know what I mean? That takes incredible talent to do. It's not easy, right? So
No, and Poison's a really good song. Now, Poison's not my top 3, but what I'll say about Poison though is I feel like maybe not in terms of the vocal styles, but the instruments themselves. It feels like a Reckless and Relentless song to me.
absolutely.
I
That's
feel
why, I
like
think that's why I like it so
I feel
much,
like it was
honestly.
like one that didn't make the album for
I can
whatever
see it.
reason, or made around that time that was demoed and they didn't have time to finish. But it definitely has that Reckless and Relentless feel to it.
I do just love straight up though the lyrics on the chorus. The these words, they fall off my tongue like a poison.
I hope they kill you
I
off.
hope they kill you off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just the whole like, I want to watch the whole world burn down. Right?
It's good sing along too.
Yeah, it
because
is.
when I saw them play it at the Machine Shop, this was a new album at the time, and
Yeah.
pretty much everybody knew it already. So
Yeah.
like, and it's simple enough and flows well enough that people can pick it up too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it also shows off like what we talked about on this album was a new style of Danny Warstock
Yeah.
singing, right? I mean, Death of Me also does show that off as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this one I find is like more a showcase with like the bridge that's just like the string arrangements or whatever on top of it. And,
I feel like this one shows more of lyrically lyric prowess as well as his range, like you said.
Yeah.
And Death of Me is more of an all-encompassing of a song with the structure, the vocals, everything, right? Like, so yeah, Death of Me I think is overall the better song, but
Yeah, absolutely.
but this shows other cool elements that you wouldn't see in Death of Me as well.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like, this is something I bring up a lot when I do this show. I love songs that have a second verse that is just essentially the first verse, but it's a variation.
Yes.
So like on the second verse on this one with the harmonized like tapping guitar parts and then like just the double kick like in between the notes is so awesome. Like I love when it's like you get to that second verse and you're like expecting it just to be like a Control C, Control V, and they're like, no, we're gonna switch it up on you, but it's gonna be the same, but it's gonna be different, right? Like,
Well, what I like about that is it keeps it kind of the same, but
Yeah.
it builds to something else, right? Rather than keeping the tempo just, down. It's not like here. It's a little bit more here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just slightly above, right? To go into the chorus, right? Because you got to build up the song, right?
yeah, every time I die are like the kings of that.
Yeah.
They do it every single song. It's like, well, you could maybe have a couple songs where you repeat yourself. That's fine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just an amazing song. And sorry, I'm just kind of like metal geeking out now because I'm just like
Oh, no,
the
dude.
harmonizing and the thirds.
Yeah, but you're also not just a music fan
Yeah.
in terms of just listening to it, but you're good at recording. You play quite a few instruments.
Yeah.
That is going to be kind of your bread and butter, right? So in addition to just being a fan and listening to it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to break it down better than a lot of other people will, because you're going to be like, oh, well, this had this and these ghost notes to this or whatever, right? And then, but then other people are like, yeah, this song is awesome, dude. It's
This
fucking
song is
rad.
sick.
Yeah, it's sick. The guitar, and all the other stuff, and but all the instruments, right? So, okay, so I guess one of my other songs I'll say I already said anyways, linked with the Riff City. Moving on. I mean, I'm not gonna really repeat myself. I kind of went off of what I really liked about it at the time.
Yeah.
Just like you said with the lyrics and that, right? Like, I never been so torn up. Like, I just like, it's something that we all kind of can connect to, because we've all had that depression of having to kind of move forward with our lives, and we think we think our life's gonna be like this, but it's like this. And I feel like that song is a lot to do with that, and just kind of accepting that and trying to go forward.
Yeah.
So that's I feel like a more of an emotional connection with that song, all encompassing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great song. I will say that's a song that I don't know as well on this album. Like I said, I only really started listening to it a lot, like when we discussed like the idea of doing the show.
Yeah.
So I've listened to it a lot since then.
Yes.
But this was an album that always like kind of seemed to evade me a little bit.
Well, I remember like when we were starting to hang out more again, it's like 2013, 2014, and I remember we were out in my car.
Yeah.
And that Celica, man, that had the best fucking sound system. That was not stock.
Yeah.
There definitely wasn't, but I got it with this great sound system. The only thing is, every time I went over a bump I'd scratch a CD because it was one of those types of things. But the sound was incredible, and I remember playing it in the car for you because you were talking about Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless, and I'm like, well, they put out this fucking album, and it's really good. And you did not seem too impressed by it at the time.
At the time, it's
grown on you since.
Well,
it seems.
Your tastes sort of change over the years.
Sure, it does.
Like same with like. I kind of had the discussion with Derek and Matt when I did. So I did Low Teens by Every Time I Die.
Yeah.
Now, Low Teens is probably by far like my second or first favorite album by Every Time I Die.
Okay, yeah.
But it has a very different sound. It's very dark, very different than the rest of their albums. Whereas, like, I just stopped listening to them for years just because I was like, they put out one album I didn't like. I'm like, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, Beartooth is riding that wave with me right now.
Are they ever?
Yeah. Because I don't know if you heard the new album, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But
I agree.
Yeah. But now going back and like, I'm in a different headspace too now that we're into like, yeah, and I've found just doing this show, I have more appreciation for a lot of albums that maybe I didn't give the time of day to before.
Well, yeah, and you're wanting to do a show on it, right? Yeah. So you're gonna put more time towards it because you need to give the show justice of giving it a fair listen and fair critique, right?
Yeah.
So,
but my final pick for top 3 tracks on this album is "Killing You." I know this was also like another single that they released. Like, I think all my songs have been the singles that they released, but "Killing You"
that's okay.
Was like a little bit of a newer listen for me. I actually was because I was doing these notes yesterday night. I think it hit me finally yesterday. I was really racking my brain on what the third song should be, and I was like, I listened to the whole album again. I went, "It's Killing You." I don't know why I ever thought it was ever going to be anything than that, but this song is just like so perfect in terms of its placement. Comes right after "Don't Pray for Me," which
love that song.
Yeah, "Don't Pray for Me" is a really good song too, but it's got the long epic intro, a nice electronic variation of the chorus started off like introduce you to what essentially is the theme of the song, the chorus, right?
Yeah.
And it launches right into like that super heavy intro though, right after that. It's so awesome. And I love Danny's vocals on the verse because they give off like a very real and raw sound. It's like...
It almost sounded like... It was cool because I know it was all him, and it almost sounded like a back and forth between somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Two people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you remember the beginning? Like it's just it's real. That hooks me too. I really like it because he just keeps going.
Yeah. Well, it's not even like screaming. It's more of like a talk scream. Like like Keith Buckley is really famous for doing that, but I think his is better. You know what I mean? It feels like a real conversation, you know what I mean? And the song also like heavily utilizes that electronic vocal slicing. Same way, the best way I can describe it, like the song "The Black," right, by them?
Yep.
Yeah, how like the instruments are all sliced at the beginning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, God, I wish you just space. yeah, that song. They use that a lot in this, and it actually does add a lot of flavor. That's a Joey Sturgis original. I know for sure that was his because that's pretty defining of the entire era of metalcore. So like I'm like, yeah, and that's definitely his input for sure. But
okay, third track for me. It's hard to pick. I'll probably go with "Killing You" as well.
"Killing You"?
Yeah, I'll probably go. I was gonna go with maybe "Don't Pray for Me."
Yeah, that's a good track.
Because the thing with "Don't Pray for Me" is it's the end of the song that it's got the piano and the keyboards and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want you to cry. I don't want you to cry. Don't. That just hypes me up like for the end of the song. I think that's like my favorite end of a song on the album. Maybe not the whole track, but I think "Killing You" probably overall for the song would probably be there. Yeah, it just makes its point.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it just there you go.
Well, I mean, it's simple, like the chorus part, right? What's killing me is killing you,
Yeah. It gets its, like I said, it gets its point across.
Yeah.
It's simple and it's like, it's easy listening for a fan of it.
Yeah.
It's not hard to listen to.
Which, to be honest, now that I've really went back and listened to stuff, this album is probably the easiest album to listen to by these guys. It's got more structure. It's got more, you know, a lot more clean vocals, which is a lot more accessible to people, because a lot of people that don't really listen to metal or anything like
They
that.
can't understand anything.
Yeah.
They're like, it's just screaming. I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know what he's saying, but
Yeah.
also I listen to a lot of metal. So,
Yeah.
you know, for people, it is just like the poop sound on South Park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what they
Stevie Ray
hear.
Vaughan. He goes up there and shits his britches. Oh man, that's funny. But I don't know. I think we've kind of exhausted our tracks on this, but let's have like a little discussion about the most overrated song and the most underrated song on the album in a segment I like to call Over Under.
Okay, overrated song, I think for me would be Break Down the Walls.
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
The problem I have with Break Down the Walls is, okay, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. You know, the chord or the verses.
Yeah.
But I just feel like when you listen to the when it goes from the verses like that to the chorus, it just doesn't elevate the chorus. The chorus doesn't like get that climax or peak that you need. It's just break down the walls. I want it all. Like it just doesn't like, it doesn't hype me up. It doesn't bring you to that next level. It just kind of stays kind of, you know, consistently, you know, flat.
Yeah.
So and then I don't like the rock mix as well that much, but I'll let you get into that.
Yeah. So
and then underrated, I think probably Don't Pray For Me, I think is kind of underrated, to be honest.
Yeah, that's super underrated.
And like I said, it's got that long intro where Danny's like yelling at a fan or whatever. It's kind of funny, but then
you stepped on my Nikes.
Yeah. But then you know, like I said, it's got that really a great outro and the chorus with, like I said, a lot of their stuff. I feel like a lot of the samples in the albums, they're not in the forefront, but they really make the album come together, the songs come together. And I almost feel like sometimes that feels like, to me, when I'm listening to, like that's the lead part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this was at the time that they even had kicked their keyboardist out. So I think they were just basically running samples and timing off that.
Probably most likely. I mean, I know that's a Joey Sturgis thing where he likes to just definitely heavily sample things, because I think the only time he ever really did record keyboards is for Attack as Caleb Shomo, right? Mm-hmm. He would have been the keyboard player for them, right? So, I mean, I could definitely see that. The honestly, for this album though, like the most overrated song in my opinion is The Death of Me, the rock mix.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, like that, it's without a doubt. It has a new mix on it compared to actually The Death of Me, and it's just like too much high end frequencies. It just like hurts my ears to listen to, and it's like the heavy use of the clean singing. Like I get it, they were trying to appeal to a more like
trying to get it on the
broader
radio,
audience. Yeah, and
the regular
like,
radios.
But it pissed me off when they made the video, because that's when I heard that. I heard it when I saw the video for that song.
Yeah.
And it was like that whole Beauty and the Beast theme or whatever, right? Where he's, I don't know, it was a weird ass video.
Well, it's like when Killswitch Engage put out The End of Heartache, and they had like
the clean
version that was on like certain soundtracks. It was on
Yeah.
like Resident Evil and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they were trying to put that out, and I don't mind it because the song is cool.
Yeah.
But I like the little bit of screams that they have in there
Yeah.
too, right? To just break it up a little bit.
Slipknot did the same thing on Resident Evil with My Plague, didn't they? They had like an edited version that was like a little less screamy. It
I
still
think
had
they
screams,
do,
yeah.
but they're still it's altered a bit.
Yeah. But I don't know, that this mix just doesn't have the same feel as the original. Feels more forced and maybe not as genuine, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't really gravitate towards it. And like I said, it's hard when you're taking like what we feel is like pretty much the best song on the album.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're taking that and
just-
changing
yeah.
that when we think this is perfect. Don't fucking change it.
Don't do that. What are you
right?
doing?
And then you change it, and then we're like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we have this movie in R.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're
wanna
gonna
make
show you
NC-17.
We're gonna make NC-17's worse than R.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. But no, we're trying to make it PG-13. No, the difference between the R rating and NC-17 for the states, so just so you know, is R. If it's like 18A here. If you're under 18, you can get a parent or guardian. If you're under 17, you cannot go to that movie.
Okay.
So NC-17 is 17 or above. Like you can't, like, even if you're under 18, like you have to be a minimum of 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. I feel like nobody at the movie theater would ever check that. Do they? I know you used to work at a movie theater. That's why I asked.
Well, yeah. Where you could, right? I mean, it was hard with some of the kids for the 14A movies because they have their student card. Maybe like we would ask for the student card because they don't really have. You didn't have their driver's license yet and stuff like that, right? But yeah, we would check. I mean, especially when my boss was around, I'd had to check.
Oh yeah,
because
I guess fair enough.
Look, I gotta do my job, right? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, I wonder now. Like a lot of times, there's not even anybody there.
Yeah.
So it's like, why did I even buy a ticket? Why didn't I just fucking run past and just go in the movies, man?
I honestly remember. I remember like not sneaking in, but like I was 13 years old and they didn't ask for like a student card or anything, and it was to see Jennifer Lopez enough.
Oh yeah.
And because that movie was 14.
Yeah,
or whatever,
I
right?
think it was 2002. She probably 12 actually.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was going with my brother and we kind of moved over theaters and we went to 13 Ghosts.
Oh.
And I was like 11, so I was like, yes.
The Matthew Lillard classic.
Yeah, I like that. I have a guilty pleasure for that movie. I like that movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's honestly one of Tracy's favorites. I can't get into it as much. It's not that I don't like the movie. I think it just came out at a time where I was just like I wasn't really into like
The set design,
horror as much as I am now.
The set design was really cool.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, like with all the glass and everything. Yeah.
That's for another episode of this podcast.
Yeah,
What we
for
do is
sure.
talk about horror movies.
Yeah, I'd love to do that one.
I could do that all day.
No, me too, man. You
maybe
know me.
maybe we'll do like something for like
You know
Dark
what
Side of the
what we could do too? So we could take a horror movie and talk about the soundtrack, like
be
the
cool.
whole metal soundtrack. Like Freddy vs. Jason's got a whole metal soundtrack with like Mushroom Head, Chimera, Kill Switch Engage.
Yeah.
Like if we can find a cool one like that and then break down the movie as well.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That'd be something cool to go with it.
I mean, essentially, we could just do Ice Nine Kills album if you wanted to.
Don't get me started on those guys. You know, those guys are too talented to
be
be
doing that, yeah.
ripping off all these horror movies and blatantly.
Yeah.
Like not even just like you're not like Cradle of Filth where you put things into songs. You don't.
Yeah.
You're taking something from a movie and you're taking something from Lovecraft
Yeah.
and you're this and this and this. They're literally like every song is like, okay, this one's
Yeah.
about fucking American Psycho. This
Yeah.
one's about it. This one's about Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, dude.
But
Spencer,
I will
you don't need to do this, dude.
I will say that song about it slaps. That's a fucking dope song. I only like it because this is the dude from Fenix TX is in it. He actually kills it.
I actually like the songs, and
Yeah.
I just wish that they would just tone down the gimmick a little bit. They don't
Yeah.
need to do it. They're
Yeah.
good enough band to not do it.
Yeah. Save that for Motionless and Wade. Sorry, I'm shitting all over them.
Well, Manson wannabe, and Manson was, and to me, Manson was never. He was more of a character that went with his music. His music to me was never great, but the character that went with it.
Well, he was more of a showman,
and
right?
the showman
Yeah.
and the persona is what I think elevated it.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it. All right, going back to this album, let's wrap up this section. My opinion, the most underrated song on this album is "Run Free."
That's a great song.
Yeah, and
I like it.
I think it's one of those ones that exemplifies like that, like the final stage of like the reckless and relentless sound or whatever, like what they were trying to go for on that album, finally like put together properly. It just bringing it back to their roots, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Essentially, and but it has a mix of their like newfound rock style and like, you know, not to mention the juxtaposition of the metalcore, the old school style, mixing with the new rock style. is really cool in my opinion.
I really love the chorus in that song.
Yeah.
Open your heart and your mind to a new world. And then you're like the little samples and that. It's perfectly timed. It's something that's not complicated, and it just enhances it. You know?
Not to mention, I do love breakdowns. I know not every song can be a breakdown, but when it's used tastefully, I like it.
Yes.
And I love, just from being a drummer myself, just rocking that China cymbal. Just halftime and let's go, baby. And he rocks the shit out of it in this song. You could tell he's breaking off pieces of the cymbal as he's hitting it, right? And I don't know, it like thinking about like just a breakdown like that just makes me want to stink face. Just like, oh yeah. But in all honesty, the string arrangement with like the lo-fi clean vocals for the bridge, like you won't be alone in the end. That part gets me like so hyped because I know it's coming in for like a big chorus.
Yes.
Beautiful build up.
Yeah, and you're it's like your song is like a movie.
Yeah.
It's like you're building your end to just be like, holy shit. And then kind of leaving you kind of wanting a sequel, you know? Like that outro is really, that's one of the top ones too. That and Don't Pray For Me. Like they're just knowing where to go. And that's why, like I said, this album, if I know it's one of my favorite albums, it's an album that I don't really skip any tracks from. And I can listen to it all the way through and love it. That's the best albums to me, regardless of the other reasons why. Yeah. That should give you your biggest reason otherwise. You know? Yeah.
Well, this one was their first single from the album, so I don't know if I can really say it's underrated, but it's often overshadowed, I think, by Death of Me.
People could talk about Death of Me all the time.
Yeah.
People talk about Poison all the time.
Yeah.
Killing You, they talk about a lot.
Yeah, because those ones were the other singles, right?
And then Moving On, I think, was a single that they put out later.
It was, yeah. It was later. Yeah, it was like after.
Yeah.
Because they always do, see, the thing with them is they always do like reworks and stuff like that. Like they had like the Stand Up and Scream album, but then Reckless and Relentless, but then they also had like, they went back and remixed a bunch of songs on both that were just like techno remixes, like stuff like that. I get lost in because it's like technically those are studio albums, but they're not really, in my opinion.
All the redos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't be like The Last of Us on PlayStation and re-release like 8 million times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just put out your album. I mean, unless you're like the Misfits, like, and have a crappy punk album you can't hear anything. I want you to re-record for sure.
Yeah. That 50 song album could definitely use a re-record.
Project 1950.
Oh yeah, buddy. But what do you say we just roll into our final thoughts on this album?
Sure.
Final thoughts.
So for me, while this might not be the no skip or platinum album as we discussed it, remember I know we had this discussion. I've been using it now on the show since we had the discussion. The idea of a platinum album being like every song is a must listen.
In terms of like not selling, but in terms of our rating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so like I've been bringing it up, and I said every time I'm like, I think the first episode I did was Toxicity.
Yeah.
And that to me is a platinum album. There's no skips
on
that
album. Was too.
Yeah, and it was too on top of that.
Yeah,
but like,
well, 2001 when it came out, of course.
Yeah.
People actually bought CDs still.
Yeah, but that's like where I know you might differ on that. Like this one isn't for me, but it definitely plays like a major part in the band's history, and that can't be overstated enough.
Yeah, for sure.
And the album marks like a major change in their style in terms of their lyrical content and their sound, overall sound. We won't talk about the black though. We won't talk about how it undid that, but
definitely not a platinum album there.
Yeah. It can't be understated how this album was their shot at any sort of mainstream success while staying true to their roots. Like it was different, but it was different in a good way. I thought they really gave it their all, and I thought they really pushed more of a mainstream sound while still staying metalcore, right? In my opinion. And it's probably the most polished version of the metalcore sound and style that they had.
Yep.
Trying to be like that was what they were trying to perfect when they did Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless, right? They wanted that sound, but I think this is the best version of it possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys too, like, Stand Up and Scream, they grew in terms of their talent over those years, right? Like, they probably weren't half the guitar players they were. Then 5 years later, when they put out this, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, we can do this now, and they're learning from every album. It's like they were learning something. Okay, what can we do? What can we do differently? What else can we do, right? And that's important to do. Not only just for your audience, but for yourself as well as artists, right? You don't want to make the same album all the time. To me, an album, if you have a lot of songs on an album that sound similar, that's okay, in my opinion, because that's the theme of your album. But when you have multiple albums where everything sounds the same, then it's like, just you listen to one, you listen to them all, right? Like it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, just this album in general, it's kind of always going to hold a special place in my heart for the song "The Death of Me."
Sure.
That has definitely influenced my producing style going forward. Now I haven't been producing for a long time, but I do find myself stealing things from that song. I'm like, oh, I really like that. I really like that. You know what I mean? Like, but that's part of it. Like when you find something that works, like obviously Joey Sturgis and Ben Bruce, like being able to write, more complete songs, and Sturgis having an ear of saying like, oh, we should put this there, we should put this there or whatever. And, it's just a perfect song. And like, it really inspires me when I'm doing stuff. It's like, fuck, those guys can put together a good song. You know what I mean? So,
well, you have to remember with music, you can't find, just about any form of art. Expressive art, you cannot find an original idea. You can always compare something to something. Not anymore, right? At one point you could, but not for a very long time. So you just have to have a creative mindset to try to hybrid something. Okay, I can take something from this and something from this, and what if we did this and tried this, right? Like, and that's, I think, just throwing things at the wall and see what sticks, that type of mentality of just trying different things, right? I think that's important, and I think they kind of did a bit of that here. It is a platinum album for me in terms of that rating. The sales were pretty good for it, considering an album in 2013. I actually went out and purchased it. I think I got it signed by them all too. Nice. Yeah. Well, a funny fact though was when I ask all British people this, because it's funny. I used to be a big Coronation Street fan, and I always ask the people from England, I'm like, "Are you a Coronation Street fan or EastEnders fan?" Because the South,
that's
like,
turf wars.
Because the South loves EastEnders, and the North likes Coronation Street, and they're like. I think it was Cam, the guitar player. He's like, we're Northerners, mate. We're from Yorkshire. So, it's all about Coronation Street. So then we did the song. Da, da, na, 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 na.
I have to ask Steve Swift now. Steve, the question's out to you. Are you a Coronation Street fan or an EastEnders fan? I know you're from Manchester.
Is that south or is that north?
North, way north.
Oh, then he would have to be a Coronation Street fan.
You never know.
You never know. No, but it's kind of territorial. It's almost like the Protestants and the Catholics of Ireland, man. Well, I don't know if it's that bad, but what I'm saying is, like, you have one area that's all this, one area that's all that, and they're very passionate about what they are. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. So
maybe a little different, but I get.
It's different, but you know what I mean.
I know. I get what you're saying, but. I just love how like the songs on this album are not only heavy but also extremely catchy,
and the flow, like for me, the flow of the song and structure of the song is everything. I can listen to almost every genre of music, different artists, if they have that structure and that flow that it's easy to go into this from this, and everything makes sense. Right? And it doesn't throw you for a loop. And I also, these songs are like, some of them are 3 minutes, 15 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. There's not a lot of songs that are over 4 minutes. And that's perfect for me. I'm not a huge fan of like super long songs. Like, listening to a Dream Theater album is not really my forte. Although they're amazing artists.
They're amazing band, but
artists.
I get what you're saying.
But you know what I mean? So get to the point, make your point, and get on to the next one. And they do that very well in this album. So yeah, and they do have the little bit of their choppy roots of the chunky riffs and here and there and Believe and all that. And I like that because like I said, it's their most balanced album to me, because even though I'm not a huge fan of the first two albums, Reckless and Relentless I like. It's a good album, but first album don't really like. It brings the elements that I do like from those and combines new elements. So it's still faithful to their original products, but it also adds a new spin that's going to hook a new fan like me, because I wasn't a big fan of them before this album. And after that I was, but unfortunately it didn't last with Danny leaving and then the Black, and then he came back, and I still like their newer stuff, but it doesn't have the same effect.
It's different.
It's too late now for me, because I liked this, and I'm glad he's back, and I understand that a lot of bands go that route when they're as they're getting older, and especially the vocalist, if he wants to keep going, especially for live performances. But what I don't understand is, like, why don't a lot of bands have on their albums, their newer albums, if they're going later, why can't they have a few fucking tracks where they're just going hard? You don't have to play those ones live, dude. It's just be on your album, or you play it like once every, 15 shows as a song to switch it up. And so then somebody who's looking on the setlist.com or whatever it is sees, oh, it's all
Tonight
this. And then it's
this,
like, and then they get that song. Wait, that wasn't on there. No, they're switching it up. Like, I'd like to see bands do a little more of that. This album will always have a special place in my heart. I'm glad I got to see them the 4 times that I saw them, and it was all around this tour, except I was unfortunately the one was not the way that I was hoping it for, but the first 2 and the last one were pretty good. So I'm glad I saw them, glad I met them. They were all very nice, and I wish them all the best. And this is just a great album, man. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. We've been running here for about an hour. What do you say? I think we've exhausted.
We can call it for
sure. Let's go into our thank yous. Do you have anybody or anything you like to thank, or anywhere people can find you?
If you want to look up my my Instagram is at @ET_scrapper. I'm also looking into getting into podcasting and that. Just kind of trying to find time for it, and want to focus mostly on horror movie stuff. So, Eric, maybe if we can even do that with the soundtrack stuff, that would be really cool too. And
absolutely,
maybe we can do that on yours, or we can do that on mine, or whatever. I can finally get set up and actually have time for it. But thank you for bringing me on it.
Of course,
thanks, Asking Alexandria, for a fucking awesome album, because I love talking about that one. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. You know what? Maybe when you start your podcast, then we'll do. You come on again, and I'll come on yours. We'll do it. We'll do it on like a weekend or something. We'll do 2 episodes. And
I know. Yeah, I definitely want to do that, and I because it's gonna be. I want to get a good setup going, and I got a lot to learn from you, man. But you know me, I'm technologically not very good, man.
No, it's all good. I think you got the basis. You'll be all right.
All right.
But if you want, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ERKE90 or ERKA90, where I will be playing a game that hasn't been popular in 15 years, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, or something like that. And if you haven't signed up yet, join our Patreon at patreon.com/SNME Radio. You get 18 shows now a week or something.
That's
like
pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's only $1 a week.
That's not bad.
And that's what I mean. If you like combat sports, MMA, you like wrestling. We have a pop culture show now. I'm on there, right? Music.
Yeah.
But you will also get. We're adding in a bunch of different shows, and we're trying to broaden our horizons as a brand. Mm-hmm. So definitely come check it out if you haven't yet. Yeah, but I guess until next time, peace out.
Same bat time, same bat channel.